Good morning and welcome to our 199th weekly webcast. We're almost at number 200. We'll do something special next week as well to celebrate number 200. Now, if this is the first time you've been with us, welcome. If you've been with us before, welcome back. And so the way this call works is this is an AMA, like in Reddit. Ask me anything. You can ask me finance questions, investing questions, business questions, career questions, how to get promoted, how to get a raise, personal development questions, etc. And my goal is to humbly help you take your career to the next level. So further ado, let's begin. One little housekeeping note, as you can see at the bottom of the screen there, tomorrow, Friday, September 9th, at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern time, I've got my 5th annual Gold and Platinum MBA degree open house webcast. And you can find out what the MBA degree program is all about. Our next one-year program starts on Friday, September 30th, and lasts for 1 year every Friday from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. So again, if you want to learn more about the MBA that starts on Friday, September 30th, please join me tomorrow per the descriptions here below for my webcast. And 3 people on that call, actually everybody on that call will get 3 gifts. Okay, there'll be surprise gifts I'll announce, but 1 person on that call will win my MBA for free as well. Most importantly, though, let me get to your questions, which is the reason we're here. And thank you, as always, for being here. All right, first up, I've got Thomas from Sweden, who's in my Platinum program. He started in June. Great to see you, bud. So Thomas wrote, Chris, it's heartwarming to see you again and to be learning from you as always. Thank you, because when one teaches to learn. Yeah, thank you. And it's a real pleasure and a privilege to have you all here, and thank you, everybody. And then Thomas wrote, you teach us that profits made from cryptocurrencies. This just fell right here. This is how I test my lighting. If anybody's curious how that works, let me know. Okay. So you wrote here, you teach us that profits made from cryptocurrencies should be put into a separate account for taxes. What is the best way to set up such an account? Use a different bank ? Yeah. So every country is a little bit different. For me in the United States, what I did was I hired an accountant and an attorney to set up an IRA so that all my cryptos are protected. But generally speaking, before anybody in any country invests in any asset class, before you invest, you want to call your accountant and ask, hey, if I buy this, can this go into my tax-free retirement savings account or not? And sometimes if you don't put it in right away into a tax-free savings account, if you don't put it in right away, you can never transfer it again. So always seek legal counsel. For those that want cheap legal counsel, and I'm not sponsored by anybody, you can go to LegalZoom.com. Okay, and that's the legal service I use. It's very cheap. It's like $30 an hour for a 6-month contract. You get calls with attorneys and all that stuff. If you don't have LegalZoom in your country, just do a search on what is the LegalZoom equivalent in my country's name. Yeah. Okay. I hope that answers your question. And for more details on cryptocurrency taxes and how not to get into trouble and owe a ton of money to the government, you can always check out an NBC TV interview I did a couple of years ago on that topic. That was me showing off. I was very nervous, though. Yeah. All right. Next up, Matt. Matt just joined my channel in terms of joining to get 5 free courses and more. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Moving on to the Berlin, who started in January in my MBA class. He's from San Bernardino, California, and he's a Platinum student as well. So the Berlin wrote, good morning, Chris and everyone. Hope all is well. Great to see you as always, man. Great to see you. And the Berlin's question is this. Chris, what are your thoughts on the FedNow CBDC? So CBDC stands for Central Bank Digital Currency. So it's like the Federal Reserve, but for the digital currency that's coming eventually. So what are your thoughts on the FedNow CBDC test pilot coming next year? You once said in 2008, we were within 24 hours of bank machines not working. If one day we go digital, people won't be able to pull out. Yeah, a couple questions there. So what the government is doing right now in the United States is they have a white paper, and they've been working closely with MIT for close to a year now to kind of explore if they should launch a digital currency or not. So the official test pilot will be next year. I don't think the United States government will rush into it. There's too much at stake because the U.S. dollar is the lowest risk currency in the world. And usually monopolies are lazy. They don't have to innovate very much. Plus, other countries have tried to adopt digital currencies and it's been disastrous. I've said publicly in the past that what El Salvador did and was doing with using Bitcoin only as its cryptocurrency is fiscally irresponsible. So I think the federal government of the United States is going to be in a wait-and-see attitude for now. Now, in terms of what is the U.S. dollar based on, it used to be based on silver in the 1800s and then gold. It was backed by gold. And then in 1972, President Richard Nixon, remember that guy who said, "I'm not a criminal"? President Richard Nixon, he took the United States dollar off the gold standard. So when you invest in United States bonds or dollars, it's backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government, who's not defaulted. And the United States government, it is what it is. I'm a global citizen, but I speak the truth with this. The United States government would be the last company, so to speak, in the world to go bankrupt. And the way the U.S. economy was set up was set up so that it was easy for them to be able to get loans from countries all over the world. Andrew Jackson, who's one of the founding fathers, who's on the $20 bill, he looks like Mick Jagger, or Keith Richards, I should say. He set the economy up that way. Yeah. So I don't think they're going to take any huge chances. But as these developments occur, I'll monitor and give you my thoughts in real time. Yeah. In terms of ATMs not working one day, I think that the United States government, especially the Federal Reserve, is a little bit more fiscally conservative. I wouldn't worry about that. Yeah. Okay. Next up, and if anybody has additional questions based on my answers, let me know, please. Next up, we got Yash, who wrote, "Hi, Chris. What is the benefit of having an MBA degree in a cryptocurrency course?" Yeah. So in my MBA degree program, which you can learn about tomorrow if you want to watch me live on that webcast, my MBA program, I have an updated version of my cryptocurrency curriculum, go in a lot more detail. It's really important to learn about cryptocurrencies, though, when you do an MBA as well, because the future of money is going to be digital. It's going to happen one day. Next up, Digital Edwin, DE, wrote, "Hi, Chris and everyone." Hey, man. I hope you're all doing well. Digital Edwin here from Kenya. Awesome. And the next school we're building with one of my platinum students from last year named Marin Karos is going to be in Kenya. We're almost done the one in Rwanda. We're putting the roof on right now and then just solar on the roof and we're done. Yeah. And then you wrote, "I hope to join your course in Kenya. I'm still saving towards it." Awesome. I'm looking forward to have you join. Next up, Adronic wrote, "Hi, how are you? Good to see you." Moving on to the Berlin, who wrote, "Chris, have you heard of boomerang software for mortgage lenders? Basically, instead of going through credit score, job history, and debt to ratio, they will also base it off of life events, new norms, etc." I've not heard of that, but I do know, one of my students told me this the other day, that the Bank of America, ticker BAC, B of A, what they're doing is they're allowing a lot of people to get mortgages now with no background checks at all. Now, I don't think they're being fiscally irresponsible, which is what happened in 2008, but there's a lot of pressure on the big banks in the United States from the U.S. government to lend. And in 2008, it was disastrous and really unfair, because what happened was all the banks, most of the banks except for Lehman and Bear Stearns, were bailed out by the U.S. government. And then in 2010, 2 years later, these bankers that got bailed out by the government and taxpayers, they paid themselves record bonuses. Meanwhile, so many people in Middle America and all over the United States and all over the world lost their houses. It's not fair. So there's this inherent pressure on the banks to provide credit to those that might not get it. Yeah. Okay. Next up, I've got Prashant, who wrote, "My question is regarding the MBA program Gold. Does include one-to-one sessions with you as well?" No, so the way it works, if you guys want, you can go to HarounMBA.com. There's 3 versions of the MBA. I'll go there really quickly and I'll get on to questions. Yeah. Okay, so if we go here to my website, HarounMBA.com, and you scroll down, there's 3 versions here of the program. There's Silver, which is like Netflix. Okay, and let me get my face off in the corner. That's what Canadians say in hockey, right? There's a face off in the corner, eh? All right, so there's 3 versions, Silver, Gold, Platinum. Silver is like Netflix. You can start today. There's over 300 hours plus many electives that are always being added, and you get all the new editions for free if you buy. It's $490. You can start today and finish whatever you want. Gold is the same thing as silver, except I teach it live, and I include 200 hours of live Q&A like I'm doing right now. It includes Zoom. Okay, and this is going to be, the next class will be starting on this date here every Friday for 1 year. The platinum version is the same as gold, except you also get 3 hours of one-on-one meetings with me. And those are in 20-minute increments, and I do it on Zoom. Yeah, thank you. All right. And Pulashi said, hi, Chris, how are you? I'm always great, thanks. I hope you're doing well. Next up, Prashant wrote, what's the best age to enter investment banking and the best age to exit? Yeah. So you're asking two great questions there, because I don't want people to spend the rest of their careers in investment banking, because what happens is you end up having no life, right? And so a lot of people start right after undergrad. I have one of my students, actually, my platinum program. He started this January in my MBA program, and he just started at Goldman Sachs. They relocated his family to New York City, and he's in the start class with Harvard MBA graduates and all that stuff, making 175 base. It's awesome. But I told him, I said, dude, and he's in his low 20s. I told him, please just spend 2 or 3 years there, and that's it. Because and he doesn't have kids yet. What happens is you work crazy hours. Okay, so you spend a couple of years doing it, and that's all. You use that as a stepping stone. And I remember when I was an undergrad at McGill University 8 million years ago in 1994, one of my good friends, Rakesh Jain, he got a job at Morgan Stanley doing investment banking, and he was making 40 grand base at the time. I was like, oh my God, that's all the money in the world. I was making 19,000 US when I worked at Accenture. But he worked very hard. And a lot of people think, oh my God, you make way more money in banking. But you know what? The reality is, your buddies that go into investment banking, they end up making the same amount per hour that you do, but they work 100 hours per week and they have no life. And when you first start doing investment banking, it's not high-level stuff. It's administrative stuff, like updating models, PowerPoint pitches, presentations, etc. It's tough. It's a really tough place to start a career at, but I'm going to make this answer more generic to appeal to everybody. If you're not sure what career to start with what's called an origination job. And I teach you about all this in my MBA program. An origination job means you create a product. And if you hate creating the product, then you can move on to sell the product or manage people on the product, etc. So investment banking is an origination job. What you do is you originate IPOs and M&A, mergers and acquisitions, right? So you create the origination, okay, the birth of a company going public. And if you hate that, if you hate the origination side of working on that investment banking meeting, you can move on to sell the product, trade the product, manage people on the product, etc. Two more examples of origination jobs. Technology. If you're not sure what you want to do, but you think it's something in tech, then become a programmer. Okay, and I teach programming in my MBA program now as well. I used to be a programmer at Accenture back in the 90s. I am that old. But if you're a programmer and you do it for a couple of years, say at Google, and you hate it, well, it's a lot easier to move out of programming to sell software or to manage people working on software or operations based on software, because you know how the product works because you developed it. Number 3, the final example. Another origination job is consulting, which is what I did years ago. And one of my students in my MBA program a month ago just got a job at McKinsey this year. Another one got a job at Boston Consulting Group. And so what happens in consulting is you originate the corporate strategy for a company. And if you hate that, that's okay, because you can move on to sell the corporate strategy, manage people doing corporate strategy, do operations, corporate strategy, etc. The bottom line is this. If you're confused what to do in your career, start with an origination job. And in my MBA program, I expose you to all different types of jobs. My role in this MBA program is I'm your humble waiter. Okay. Now, when you go to this is where I proposed to my wife, Christine. She said yes. Yeah. When you go to a restaurant, you can look at the whole menu, but you only choose 1 or 2 things. So I'm your waiter, and I provide you with all different job options. I explain all types of jobs, including programming, investment banking, consulting, etc., in my MBA program, so you can make the decision that fits you best, meaning the one that you're most passionate about. Okay. All right, next up, Manas, how are you? Manas is from India. He's awesome. He's published a number of books. He has a lot of courses on Udemy as well. And thank you for the support as well. I saw your LinkedIn message the other day. Thank you. So Manas wrote here, good morning, my dear mentor. Call me Chris, please. Hope all is well. How are you doing today? I have so much to ask you today. Awesome. I'm always great. I'm looking forward to answering your questions as well. And get some coffee here. I'm trying to whiten my teeth, so my dentist said use this for a while. Yeah. All right, Prashant said, hello, Chief. Good to see you. Moving on to Ganesh, who wrote, hey, Chris, what was your specialization in your MBA? Yeah, so when I did my MBA 8 million years ago at Columbia University, I did an MBA in finance. And the problem was that, they teach you how to manage other people's money, but not your own money. And most MBA schools, don't teach you how to start a company. They don't teach you how to sell. They don't teach you how to interview. They don't teach you how to get a job. That's why you're there, right? And so my MBA humbly fills all those gaps and much, much more. But I did an MBA in finance at Columbia in the year 2000. Yeah. All right. Next up, I have got here Michelle. Hey, Michelle, thanks for joining the channel. I see your emoji there, trophy. Thank you. You wrote, good morning, Chris. Love that. When one teaches to learn. It's so true. It's so true. And when you guys join companies, and I don't care how junior or senior you are at a company, you got to get mentors, lots of mentors. Okay. And it could be people in different departments have something in common with you. And they'll kind of tell you the ropes in the company and how things work, etc. I also want you all to get mentored by the assistants. This is crucial. Why? Because your boss has an assistant, and that assistant has probably gone from company to company to company with your boss. And he or she knows exactly how your boss makes decisions. So you always want to confide in them as well. Last thing I'll say in that, in terms of teaching, I want you to all mentor other people as well. Because when you do that, again, when one teaches to learn, what you're also doing is you're reinforcing your blueprint for success. And you remind people of how to be successful, which you're teaching yourself or reminding yourself that as well. Yeah, we all need Yodas. Moving on to Paul. Paul, first time I've seen you on the call. I hope you join us again. Thank you. Paul wrote, I have a personal / career question. Sure. Is it feasible to start a company that you only have an idea and the business side of it, but it needs a ton of coding? Kindly elaborate your feedback. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So the first thing I'll say is that if you don't write a business plan, your chances of success go down materially. Okay. Failing to plan is planning to fail. And so you have to write a full business plan. And in my MBA program, I've got this venture capital boot camp as well in the 3rd semester. I messed up my hair now. Yeah. And what I do is I teach you how to start a company based on my work experience, working in venture capital, investing in Facebook when it was private, being part of the Stanford MBA curriculum to mentor students there that are starting companies. Make sure you write a full business plan first. Now, in terms of, is the product not ready? That's okay. That's okay, because you can create what's called a minimum viable product, an MVP. And as Reid Hoffman said, who's the brilliant co-founder of LinkedIn and now a venture capitalist at Greylock, what Reid Hoffman said is that if you release your product when it's ready, then you've missed the market. So there's no shame in releasing a product in test mode initially. Now, in terms of you not doing any coding yet on the product, you can always put together a bunch of slides, which I provide you with, all the templates in my MBA program, a bunch of slides that will actually outline the future of the product and create wireframe diagrams if it's an app. And you can always go to upwork.com and get people to do it there, or go to fiverr.com, although Fiverr is not as good. Now, let me give you a real-life example of a company that Google bought for $3 billion where they didn't really have the product ready at first. So there's this guy. He's a partner at Kleiner Perkins, one of the best venture capital firms in history. And I've met him before, Randy Komisar, nice guy. And so Randy invested when he was at Kleiner in this company called Nest. Okay, and Nest, many of you know, makes that thermostat that you have at home. Looks kind of like this. And when I met with Randy years ago, I asked him, I said, congratulations on investing in Nest. Google bought it for $3 billion. What was it like in your first meeting with them? I mean, how good was the product? And he said, Chris, they didn't have a product. And I said, what do you mean they have a product? Why'd you invest? He said, well, they came in with a block of wood. a round block of wood, and they said, this is what the product's going to look like. But they had all the wireframe diagrams of it. And I said, well, why did you invest? And he said, well, the engineers were so talented and they were so passionate as well in their delivery that I had to invest in them. And quite often, sophisticated venture capitalists, they'd rather invest in an A management team with a B business model instead of investing in a B management team with an A business model. And the reason is because the market will change, your product will change, because it's usually an early stage type investment in a tech market. But they want to make sure that if the product changes, can the CEO, founder, can she or he still get people excited about the product or not? Yeah. And I remember years ago, I used to help out, there's this seed investment firm called Plug and Play Tech Center. And they've got built offices all over the world. Great man named Saeed Hamidi. He's a good dude. I love him. And he had me come in to sit on boards to select companies for him to invest in. And there was just three of us, Saeed, myself, and another VC. And we would meet with these people that were presenting in 10-minute increments. And after they left the room, it's kind of like Shark Tank. Saeed would ask me, Chris, what'd you think? And I would always start with, initially, the business model is sound, yada, yada, yada. And he said, no. What'd you think of the person? And he would always invest in people first because the jockey's more important than the horse, always. And he would ask this one question also. And if the person answered it wrong, he might not invest. The question is this: do you have a plan B? And if the entrepreneur said, yeah, I'll go back to law school or whatever, God forbid, he wouldn't invest. What he wants to hear is this: no, I am all in. Okay. All right. Next up, I got a question here from, let's do a tech check. Okay, we're good to go. Great. All right. Next up, I've got a question here from the Berlin who wrote, Chris, looking sharp, brother. You're going to have to play ZZ Top, Sharp Dressed Man. That's right. I remember those guys with the big beards. I remember Gillette wanted to pay them $1 million each to shave their beards on television for a commercial. They said no. And they were in Back to the Future Part 2. Remember that? It's awesome. Or Part 3. Next up, Manas wrote, Russia wants to create a new currency for reserve purposes with China for the Asian market. Will it affect the dollar and pound, and how much in the long term? Well, I would say that China, first of all, is more reliant on the United States than vice versa. The reason I say that is because the United States is the largest economy in the world for now. China will probably pass the US by 2045 if there's no civil unrest there. And China is really reliant in terms of exports to the United States. And that's one of the reasons the Chinese government has to keep buying US bonds. They're more reliant on the US than vice versa. And it's important to note also that in China, it's a command-based economy, of course. It's communist. And unfortunately, it's moving more left-wing since COVID started. A lot of countries are, which breaks my heart. And so China's biggest concern is civil unrest. And what happened in Tiananmen Square back in 1989, we were all fortunate that CNN had a television crew there for the uprising, and that amazing hero of mine that stood in front of the tank. That was back then. CNN was lucky to be there. But today, everybody is a journalist. There's billions of these things. And so if there's any sort of civil unrest in China, meaning if the economy slows too much and they're already cutting rates, then that economy is not going to work anymore, right? There'll be riots and all that stuff, and they certainly don't want that. They already have cameras everywhere that can recognize with facial detection 200 or 300 million people in China. So I don't think that China's going to do anything to rock the boat because they've got too much at stake. In terms of Russia, so Russia's not as dominant as it once was. And my kids ask me, they say, Dad, like back in February, how long will this awful war last with Ukraine? And I said, honey, it's to Andrew. He's older now. I said, decades. This is the Cold War Part 2, unfortunately. And so Putin is going to try to reassemble the USSR. And one of the reasons he's doing it is that USSR, or Russia, used to be a massive superpower, but its economy is really slowing, and it's not even in the top 10 in terms of GDP. You can go to visualcapitalist.com for more details on that. So what he wants to do is he wants to reassemble the entire USSR. And he's doing it, and he's funding this war, what a prick, with higher oil prices, right? And so there's a famous Saudi Aramco executive who once said, the Stone Age did not end because they ran out of stones. And so what the whole world is going to do, and we're seeing it here in the United States, is they're really going to try to wean ourselves off of oil. In fact, in California, the state I live in, by 2035, it's going to be against the law to buy gas-powered cars. Same thing with Washington State, and other states are following as well. So I don't think Russia is going to be a superpower in the long run. I think this is their final act. It's like a Hail Mary pass, and they're down 80-0 or something. Yeah. And a little side note, so my new website, I don't know if you guys have seen it, HarounMBA.com, I hired an amazing developer named Vlad from Ukraine to do it. He's amazing. If anybody wants me to refer him to you, email me, please, at support@HarounVentures.com. Okay, Vlad, he did it through Upwork. He's a great guy. Yeah, he's been through a lot. All right. Next up, Solomon wrote, hey, Chris, how are you doing? I'm great. Thanks. Hope you're doing well. It is good to see you. Likewise. In your opinion, what is the best trading platform to trade cryptocurrency? It supports many Arabic countries. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I use Coinbase, but I don't even know if you can use Coinbase in all countries in the Middle East. I would double check there. Make sure it's one of the big ones that you use. So, for example, in the United States, I only buy stocks on 2 exchanges, the NASDAQ and New York Stock Exchange. Make sure that you partner with or invest with the largest platforms. And don't ever leave that much money in those accounts, please. So when you invest in cryptocurrencies, it's like you have a savings account and a checkings account. Okay, savings account for your personal bank has a higher interest rate, slightly higher. So keep more money in your savings account, meaning in your bank. Okay, checkings account, and when I say savings account, the way to think about that in terms of cryptocurrencies is your cold storage wallet. Okay, like a Trezor or a Ledger Nano S. Your checkings account is usually money you want to spend, right? You can keep that in hot wallets online, okay? But don't leave it there that long because you could be at risk of losing it. Bottom line is put all your money, if you can, in a Trezor or a Ledger Nano S. I have a student from Bulgaria who said Trezor means a vault in Bulgarian. All right, next up, Eric wrote, do most artificial intelligence investment programs that buy and sell stocks work? No, most of them fail miserably. Now, if you want to do an analysis on a company that has made money and has been up 60% on a gross adjusted basis every year since the 1980s that does AI trading, you want to look into Renaissance Technologies. It was founded by a brilliant mathematician named Jim Simmons. Jim Simmons used to work at the NSA in the United States. And what he does is, in Renaissance Technologies, his massive hedge fund, he has thousands of Linux servers running in parallel that are closely guarded, of course. And he makes a fortune every year because the algorithm picks stocks the right way. And I'll give you an example. I don't know what's in that. Nobody does. But an example would be this. If it's raining a lot, then short restaurant stocks, because people don't go out to eat as much during lunch hour, for example, or dinner if it's raining. That sort of thing. So check out Renaissance Technologies. You can do a search on my YouTube channel on hedge funds, because I did a profile on him a while back. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Samir says, hi, how are you? Moving on to Manas, who wrote, Apple launched iPhone 14 Pro, which is just a replica of the previous one. Is Apple dying? And how will they compete in AR, VR division longer term? Sure, a couple questions there. Yeah, so I watched the entire keynote yesterday. The iPhone 14 has a couple of cool new features, but I don't think it's worth buying. Basically, it's the same to me as the iPhone 13, unless you want to play video games that are faster, which is, I don't know, a market of 3 people, whatever. There's also this cool little notification bar thing at the top. But aside from that, it's not that different. One thing I will say, though, is this, which is cool. But this doesn't appeal to the massive market. If you do a lot of hiking, okay, and you're in the middle of nowhere, and you can't get cell phone reception or Wi-Fi reception, of course, what you can do with the new iPhone is you can literally point it up at a satellite, and it'll tell you when you're pointing at it correctly. You have to do it outdoors. And then you'll be able to send a text to the satellite and get help from somebody if you're stranded in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, I watched the whole keynote yesterday. There wasn't really that much groundbreaking stuff. In terms of your second question on Apple's AR and VR product, it's coming out in January, most likely, according to people familiar with the matter. And the way I know that is you can go and do a search on Apple patents, and you can see they have a patent for an AR VR product, right? It's really thin. It looks really cool. And they have another version coming out in 2024 as well. I think if anybody's going to figure out AR and VR, it's going to be Apple, because when I use a VR, with my PlayStation VR product or my Oculus, which is right over here, I always get dizzy. I think Apple will be the one to figure it out. Yeah, it'll take them a while. In terms of, is Apple dying? They're just not innovating very much. It's sad, but when a founder leaves a company, innovation tends to slow down a lot. Like, they haven't done that much innovation. Great company, yes, and I do own the stock, yeah, in one of my portfolios, and I have for years. But Apple, basically, since Steve Jobs passed away, they just made a bigger version of this, a cheaper version of this, a bigger iPad, a smaller iPad. The watch was kind of in development when he was there working with Johnny Ive, etc. So there hasn't been as much innovation, but I think that Tim Cook is a superb CEO, and he knows how to operate. He was the COO before as well. Yeah. All right, next up, I've got Samir who wrote, hey, Chris, what do you think about Sprintax versus an accountant? Yeah, I don't like using any sort of software for accounting. What I recommend everybody do is hire your own accountant. And not hiring your own accountant is, and this is going to be an extreme example here, is just like doing surgery on yourself. The reason accountants exist is because the tax code changes all the time. And to keep yourself out of trouble and to get more write-offs, if possible, you need to hire an accountant, because the tax laws change all the time. Now, there's no centralized repository like a Yelp for accountants. It's very fragmented. The best way to find a great accountant is to ask your rich aunt or uncle, friends that are successful, whatever, who do they use? And they'll recommend the accountant, right? And they'll get bonus points too, because the accountant gets more work. Don't do that though with 1 month or so before taxes are due. Do it well in advance. Yeah, always have an accountant. Yeah. All right, next up, Dane wrote, there's a lot of promotion to get into government contracts, with many people offering coaching and training. Is this a viable course of action for ongoing income? Yeah. Consulting, yeah. It all depends. Like, I remember every year I used to watch the State of the Union every January when the president would talk about the budget for the next year, and we would invest in those sectors. So it's all sector dependent. All sector dependent, yeah. Yeah, and a lot of people are doing more contracting work and consulting work now in the defense sector, just because Cold War Part 2 started in February, yeah. Okay, next up, Samir wrote, are you bullish on the Ethereum merge finally coming? Apparently, yeah. I still love Ethereum. I love it because it's a platform, and you always want to own the road, because if you invest in a platform, you make money from charging the cars. Kind of like Facebook is a platform, LinkedIn's a platform, Apple's a platform, YouTube's a platform, etc. Now, the only problem I've always had with Ethereum, and I do own it, and I've owned it for years. I stopped mining it recently for obvious reasons. I'll explain why in a second. The only problem with Ethereum is that there is no limit on the number of cryptos that can be created, meaning Ether, ticker ETH. But aside from that, I love it, because 70% of all ICOs, which is like an IPO but for cryptos, 70% of all ICOs and NFTs are created on the Ethereum platform. It's so much more than just a digital ledger. In terms of what's going on, so Ethereum they're kind of changing. They're merging with another company. They're changing the technology infrastructure so that they're moving from what's called a proof of work to proof of stake. And what that means is proof of work means anybody can mine, you can make money. Proof of stake, just to sum it up from a high level perspective, means you kind of have to pay first. So it's a little bit harder to mine. Yeah. Okay. Somebody wrote something in Arabic. I'm not sure what that says. My dad speaks Arabic. The only Arabic word I know is khamsa, which is 5. Because when I was 5, I was like, Dad, how old am I? Khamsa. Now I'm khamsa 0. Yeah. All right, next up, Michelle wrote, will you clarify what you said at the end of the Motley Fool investment video? And be a long-term investor. Trading doesn't work. Please don't trade stocks. Are you referring to options? Yeah. No, I'm referring to trading in general. So for those of you not familiar with the Motley Fool service, it's a service people pay for in order to help them pick stocks. It only works when the market's going up a lot. When the market is down a lot, or in a bear market like we kind of are now, it doesn't work at all. Do a search on Motley Fool on YouTube. You'll see my review video. So at the very end of the video, I said, don't trade. And I believe that as well. Because if you think about it, each month has 20 weekdays. That means 20 days the markets are open. And trying to make money each month is impossible because you'll get fooled by randomness. Nobody can call a stock that soon. And if they could, there would be successful traders out there. We don't know the names of any of them because they don't really exist in the long run. And the reason stocks go up and down within a 20-day period, meaning within 4 weeks, the reason stocks go up and down quite often is because of geopolitical events. It might be what Putin says or saber rattling between Biden and China. We have no idea. Or it might be another stock, similar to stock you bought that had great earnings or poor earnings. You can't call stocks in the short term. You got to be very long-term focused. As Warren Buffett said, the longer the view, the wiser the intention. And in my MBA program, I provide you with all the templates, tools, etc., so you can do modeling of companies in the long run, so you can pick target prices based on your earnings estimates in 5 or 10 years. That's how the smart money works too. They're very long-term investors. Years ago when I invested in Amazon, people said, Chris, you're crazy. Why would you invest in Amazon? It's over 100 times earnings. And I would say, no, it's actually 3 times earnings. 3 times my earnings estimate in 10 years. So when you invest, you got to tell yourself, I don't know the path, but I know the destination. Think long-term always. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that question. Moving on to Rita. Hey, Rita, how are you? Rita is one of my platinum students based in Melbourne. How are you? He wrote, "G'day, Chris. You're looking fabulous as usual. Thank you. You're very attired today. It suits you dressed in a suit. I say hello to you and to my fellow students from Melbourne. Thank you. It's great to see you. What I actually have on underneath this, I always have on these Lululemon pants because they're so comfy. Yeah. So I'm only professional from the waist up, sort of. Yeah. Okay. Moving on to Manas, who wrote, the metaverse is going wild, literally. A bunch of companies are getting funded and support. Do you think there are ways, is this too good to be true? I think that's how I'm interpreting your question properly. Yeah. No, I think it's going to matter in the long run, right? And so Metaverse is Internet 3.0. Internet 1.0 was basically just static web pages in the 90s. Internet 2.0 was mobile apps, a little bit more dynamic stuff. And so Internet 3.0 is going to be something that's a little bit more virtual, right? And it's going to become self-fulfilling. I'll show you a prop here. It's going to become self-fulfilling, right? Like it will matter in the very, very long run. But give me 1 second. Black shirt fell down here. Yeah. And this is what I used to wear every day. Remember that? The old days. But the metaverse, so Facebook is working hard on this product. And for those of you that have not listened to the Spotify interview of Joe Rogan with Mark Zuckerberg, please listen to it. It's 3 hours. It's fascinating. But Facebook, this is their Oculus product. They only have like 15 million of these that have been sold, which is nothing compared to the billions of handsets that have been sold. But so many companies are behind this technology that it will work eventually. There'll be a ton of failures. The problem is right now, the faces don't look that realistic. Like when you play FIFA or MLB The Show or any sports games, EA Sports, it's in the game. Whenever you play those games, the faces aren't realistic, but everything else is. And so there's a lot they've got to work on, right? Also, you get dizzy from using these things. And hopefully somebody like Apple, when they come out with their AR, VR product in January, we'll kind of address that. But every company in tech is going all in on this. Facebook even renamed themselves from Facebook to Meta. Microsoft is trying unsuccessfully to do it too with their HoloLens. Hasn't worked out that well. It's a $3,000 product. It's not commercial. It's not consumer based. You've also got Google is trying it with Magic Leap, company they invested $500 million in Florida years ago. Everybody's trying. Sony is finally going to come out with a second version of their VR product within a year or so. It's been over 5 years. Everyone's trying to get into it because it's the next platform that matters. And if you want to see an example of how it might look, you can go to this website, mbametaverse.com. That's my website. And earlier this year, I did a webcast, actually, where I let people come into the metaverse. Now, the way it works with metaverse is you can either use a device with cardboard on it, so you can look, you've seen those, or one of these headsets, or you can use the arrow keys on your keyboard, because not everybody's going to have this device. But again, go to mbametaverse.com to check out what it might look like. And I will be adding metaverse capabilities to my MBA program soon. I'm going to add 100 case studies for all 100 classes, right? All optional case studies, yeah. It's going to matter. I don't know what it's going to look like. I have no idea. But as new technologies develop, I'll incorporate them into the MBA program so that you're always up to date with the most current MBA on the planet. Unbiased, obviously, yeah. All right. Next up, the Berlin wrote, on boomerang software, they will be based off life events like age. If you had a newborn, etc., in order to get a mortgage loan. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. I'm sorry. I'll have to do more work on boomerang software. Thank you. Moving on to Mutaz, who wrote, are college degrees important in 2022 and beyond? They're becoming less relevant, right? I kind of feel like my kids are maybe the last generation that feel that they maybe should think about going to college. And a lot of big companies don't require you to have a college degree anymore. I'll give you examples. Google, Apple, Facebook, IBM, Bank of America. Tons of companies don't require a college degree anymore. And it's really unfair, but it's, the wealthy get their kids into great schools because they went to those schools or they donate. It's not fair. It's bogus, man. Like if you meet somebody that intimidates you from Harvard, for example, ask them if they had any relatives that went there, right? The system is rigged. It's not fair. And it's my mission, my goal, my purpose in life, to provide education to the masses at affordable prices. And I don't agree with accreditation either. Yeah. So, and also college degrees, like 4 years for $100,000 with 13 hours of class a week. It doesn't make sense. And you don't learn anything tangible you can apply in the real world unless you want to be a doctor. Yeah. I've got this big problem with education. And you can always do a search on my TEDx talk because I talk about what I think the future is going to look like with education. I think only 50 universities will survive longer term in my lifetime. Yeah. All right, next up, we've got Yash, who wrote, hi, Chris. What are your thoughts about India? The government does not support any digital currency in any way. Thanks. Yeah. So I think cryptocurrencies are the biggest threat to national security in many countries. And the reason is, if everybody in India or America, it doesn't matter, any country, if everybody stopped buying their own currency, stopped using their own currency, and they just use cryptos, then governments would go bankrupt. So the way that governments work is governments control the money supply. And the way they do it is, let's just say that, interest rates are high and the economy is not doing well. Well, the government cuts interest rates. They flood the market with money. This is fake money. They flood the market with money. And the way they flood the market with money or take money out of circulation is they issue bonds. So if I'm the government and you're all consumers and investors, I'm the government. If I sell you a bond, okay, and you buy it and I take your money, I take a lot of that money out of circulation. And if there's less money out there in circulation, then prices go up for money, just like any product, right? If you can't find a PS5, the prices are high. So if there's less dollars out there, then what happens is the price of money goes up, interest rates go up, okay? And if governments, and also governments use some of that money, to also, build bridges, walls, defend the country, etc., the military. And if you take that away from the government, meaning if you didn't buy bonds from the government anymore, you just invested in cryptos, then a lot of there'd be civil unrest and a lot of countries would go bankrupt. And so I think the more left-wing a country is, the more likely it is they're going to ban cryptos. Kind of like Russia, sort of, and China to a greater extent. Yeah. And there's no point in doing something fiscally irresponsible like what I think it was Nicaragua or El Salvador, did by using Bitcoin only as their primary currency. Yeah. It's not tested yet. And most cryptos are an absolute scam, right? And I've owned four forever. Most are a scam. Now, when you invest in a stock, you can read an investment offering memorandum. Okay, this is an S1 document. Now, when you invest in cryptocurrencies, there's nothing like this. Because cryptocurrencies are not regulated by governments. They're regulated by the laws of mathematics, and the crappy ones are regulated by scammers, meaning no regulation at all. And so I think there has to be some loose regulation with cryptos in terms of investment offering memorandums. Not like the whole IPO S1 process, but maybe like a SPAC, which takes a lot less legal paperwork. Yeah, SPACs are risky. Okay. Give me 1 second here, guys. Sorry. All right. And what I'll do is soon I'm going to open up Zoom. And if you guys want to join the Zoom call, I'll just show you how to get there. And I'll come back to answering more questions here. But the way to join the Zoom call is you go to my website, Haroun MBA, harounmba.com/Zoom. Okay. There you go. Yeah. And you just click this link here, read the instructions. Okay, so let me actually open up Zoom in the background here, and I'll get back to your question. So Zoom here, switch the microphone over. Whoa! Okay, give me 1 second, go back over here, turn this off. Good. All right, so Zoom is on, and I'll wait for you guys to join. But I'll answer your questions here first. Sorry for the delay there. Okay. All right. Next up, Manas wrote, what programming language will be hype in blockchain and Web 3.0? Yeah. In the future, we don't know. Right now, there's no shame and no problem with doing Python. And I'll be teaching Python next year as well in my MBA program. What I'm starting with, though, first in my MBA program is, and I'm adding a technology module as well. I teach how to code because I used to be a coder. I'm a nerd. I'm teaching how to code using props. Okay, and we're going to start with Excel. Okay, so in Excel you create subs, right, and subs, and you put those in modules, etc. And the great thing about learning programming within Excel, meaning Visual Basic, is when you hit record and you record yourself, I don't know, entering stuff in cells and making something bold, underline, etc. And then you hit stop record. The code is created for you. So it's a great way to start to learn. So again, I'm starting in my MBA program with teaching you how to use Excel, Visual Basic. Then we'll move on to Python and other programming software developer languages that will be relevant in the future. Yeah. All right, next up, Eric. Hey, Eric, one of my Silver MBA students. Good to see you. And thanks for your comments on my Billions vlog as well. I clicked like and love. So Eric wrote, investment banking and hedge fund management teams seem like something I would be really interested in doing, even though I don't have a degree in finance. In the past, I made some astute investment decisions. Awesome. And if you want, so every week, as many of you know, in the Silver MBA program, from 10 until 11, meaning right when this call ends, I do a Zoom call with my Silver students, and you can go to the first lecture in the Silver curriculum for more details. For my Platinum and Gold students, it's every Thursday at 11:20 for 2 hours, plus one-on-ones. Okay. Next up, Manas wrote, you love coffee. Have you ever tried ayahuasca? Never. I have friends that did it, and actually Will Smith did it as well a number of times, and we don't know if that led to his. I won't go there. Yeah. Have you ever tried ayahuasca? I've never tried it alone. Traditionally, you're supposed to try it in a rainforest in the Amazon with a shaman guiding you. Sounds too woo-woo. Yeah, that's a little risky. Yeah, and a lot of people do it for kind of mind expansion and to be creative. A lot of artists use it as well, and musicians when they want to think about writing poetry or lyrics, etc. Yeah, be careful of that stuff. Rose, how are you? Rose, great to see you. Rose is from Virginia. She was my Platinum program a couple of years ago. So Rose wrote, so glad we're finally back to Venture Capital Bootcamp. My business plan could use a revisit. Awesome. Yeah, awesome. I'm here to help you always. Yeah. Moving on to Eric, who wrote, I watched the Billions for the first time, even though I wasn't sure it would be worthwhile, but I loved it. Also, I noticed, and you wrote this comment, also this exact comment, thank you, in my Billions blog. You wrote, I noticed the house was quoted at 83 million and the purchase price was 63. And that was done intentionally on purpose because he negotiated the price lower because he's Bobby Axelrod. Yeah. Moving on to Norm McDonald. Hey, Norm, how are you? It's been a while. Great to see you. And I remember you are Canadian as well, just like the other Norm McDonald. God bless him, the comedian. You wrote, hi, Chris, I'm also Canadian. I'm finding your cryptocurrency course very informative. Which countries have the least restrictive laws for starting a crypto business, a trading platform, for example? Maybe El Salvador. But I probably think the U.S. because the U.S. has the least restrictions on crypto. There's really not that any restrictions at all. It's more of a free market. Yeah. Next up, Manas wrote, Binance banned Ethereum transactions from the 6th of September to the 12th of September. How is this Web3 and decentralized sector for this completely Web2 type of dominance? Yeah. I'm not sure why they banned it. It's probably because of the switch over to the new way of mining from proof of stake to proof of work. And they're probably worried about extreme volatility and lawsuits, etc. Yeah. And what happens a lot with cryptos is they have a fork. And what that means is you've got people that it's like religion. Like oh my God, here I go. You had Christianity, and then you had the Roman Catholic Church, Protestant, and different denominations. It's kind of like that with cryptocurrencies. Sometimes there's a difference in thought process from the developers, and there's a fork, and they go their separate ways, and you get an extra crypto like a dividend. So with Bitcoin, they had a couple of different forks as well. Yeah, I don't know if that explains it right, but I think it's a good analogy. No more talk about religion, Chris. Okay, but God bless you all. All right, next up, Mutaz wrote, hey, Chris, are college degrees important? Okay, you pasted the same question twice, but there's a follow-up. You said, are learning skills from online courses worthwhile? Absolutely. I think you can learn more practical stuff immediately, kind of like using YouTube. You guys want to get the answer to something, you go to YouTube, right? You don't go to a library anymore to look up an encyclopedia. Yeah. Okay, next up, Mabuyazawi. And if I'm mispronouncing that, please let me know. For everybody, I don't mean to mispronounce anyone's name. Sometimes people say Haroun. So the question is, good day, Chris. How are you? How can one start to develop a process for finding and identifying equity trading catalysts? Thank you. Yeah. So a catalyst means a reason to invest in a stock. It's hard to do. You might want to just listen to earnings calls for companies because they talk about upcoming events that might move a stock. A lot of times what you want to do is you want to invest in stocks that people are going to like. And that's a catalyst. And this is going to be a worthwhile prop. And Norm asked me a question earlier. He's from Canada, so I got to go back to my Canadian roots. So Wayne Gretzky was very successful, not because he skated to where the puck is, but rather because he skated to where the puck is going to be. And so we have to find catalysts when we invest in companies, meaning we have to invest in stocks that people don't like now, but they're going to like. A great example of this is in 2012. A guy I used to work with named Brian Carter, brilliant man. He traded, invested in media stocks. He had us invest in Lionsgate Films, ticker LGF. And the reason was because at that point in time, there were 3 great books about the Hunger Games. And Lionsgate Film, ticker LGF, was going to make 3 movies about the Hunger Games. They actually made 4 movies, right? It's too long, kind of like The Hobbit. But basically, those were 4 catalysts, 4 future catalysts to push the stock higher, to get investors excited. You always want to invest in stocks that people are going to like. Okay. Next up, Manas wrote, thank you for everything, my mentor, Chris, please. God bless you and your family forever and ever. See you next week with the 200 episode. And there will be breaking news in the 200 episode, kind of like I did on the 100th episode as well. But don't go back and watch the 100th episode because I want it to be a surprise. Okay. Next up, Abdulaziz. I got a good friend named Abdulaziz as well in Dubai. Abdulaziz wrote, how soon will the speed of advancements in new energy overtake fossil fuel? And what will this mean for oil producing nations? Yeah, it's going to take time. And many of these clean tech companies only exist because of massive government subsidies. It's true. Like a lot of solar companies only exist because of subsidies. Otherwise, it's not cost effective. I've got solar on my roof. I've got a Tesla, a couple of e-bikes as well. But there's a lot of subsidies, at least in the car and the solar stuff. So it'll probably be more common once these companies can survive on their own 2 feet without government incentive programs. Yeah. And so I would think by 2035, certainly, we'll be there because that's the year that in California they're mandating that you cannot buy gas-powered cars anymore. Yeah. So I think another 10, 15 years. Yeah. Yeah. In terms of oil-producing nations, they'll still do well for a while. It's kind of like GameStop. For many years, hedge funds have incorrectly shorted GameStop because they thought, hey, man, in the future, people aren't going to go into video game stores. They're just going to download software, right? But GameStop can still, have a lot of cash flow for a number of years, maybe another decade or 2. Yeah. Same thing with oil-producing countries, yeah. But they are certainly in secular decline, yeah. Next up, Eric from my Silver MBA wrote, I'm interested in making clothes among many interests. Cool. I'd like to work with fashion designers near Nashville, Tennessee. That's where you live. A burgeoning fashion center and create a look that builds a personal brand. Yeah. And if you want, ask me about this during our silver call today, because I have a student in my platinum program named Adiposi from Nigeria who has an unbelievable handbag business as well and fashion business. He's doing really well. The name of the company is CEO, which is also the initials of his wife. It's pretty cool. right, next up, Paul wrote, why do all hedge funds not like Jim Simmons? I mean, with computers picking stocks, can you go wrong? Yeah. I think there's a lot of jealousy. It's kind of like the New York Yankees in baseball. A lot of people don't like the Yankees because, they have 27 world championships. My Toronto Blue Jays are a better team, though. Yeah. So I think there's just a lot of envy. Yeah. But he's one of the few people that's ever figured this out. Right. And again, he worked at the NSA as well. Next up, Mutaz wrote, hey, Chris, man, what do you think about Uber, the company? Do you think it's dying? No, I mean, growth is slowing a lot. So the way it works is this. When a company is private, revenue is usually accelerating. Okay. The second a company goes public, 99.9% of all publicly traded companies have revenue that's positive but decelerating. Okay. So eventually you're going to get the law of large numbers. It's like Apple or Microsoft. They get too big, they can't grow. Kind of like the U.S. economy will never grow more than a couple percent. Yeah. But there's still dominance. I think somewhat unethical. But in the post-Travis days, things are getting a lot better there. Yeah. And make sure to watch Super Pumped. It was a mini-series, 6 episodes. Yeah. It's pretty cool. Okay. Next up, Matt wrote, and Matt, thank you for subscribing or joining my channel. I see your trophy icon. Thank you. You wrote, hey, Chris, I've been silent because I'm listening while I'm working. I call it two-tasking. Very cool, like multitasking. Good to see you. Love the learning. Awesome. If you're doing when you're working, and this is a side note for everybody here, if your company gives you one of these things, if you have the personal budget for it, buy the exact same model yourself. Because when you're at work, like companies can, if somebody wants to fire you just by looking through you doing personal stuff, they can easily do it. And you can use this as a hotspot or use it for your speaker ear. Pretend you're on a phone call or something while you're listening as well. Yeah, thank you for listening at work. I appreciate it. And a lot of people don't realize this, but I have a podcast as well. And the way to get it, this will take 10 seconds, is you go to Haroun MBA and then go to About. And then up here, you've got podcast. Yeah. And I've never really advertised it, but we do. It's usually a week behind before they process it and throw it up on iTunes, Spotify, and other places. Yeah. Repurposing content. Good to see you, Matt. Next up, Eric wrote, since you brought up iPhones, I just thought of innovating closed captioning phones. Mine lacks a good UX design principles. Maybe I could sell a better version. Yeah. And I remember during one of our Zoom calls on the Silver Call a couple weeks ago, you mentioned you looked into patents for hearing loss devices as well. I'd love to talk to you about that in more detail. Thank you. Okay. Give me 1 second here. Next up, Vicente wrote, a shout out to the best teacher and mentor from New York. Many blessings. Congratulations, man. God bless you. I'm so happy for you and your wonderful wife as well. And my eyes were tearing up when you sent me that message too. So God bless you. Lots of love. Enjoy every second. Don't do anything else except for that job, though. Yeah, it's going to take up a lot of time. Yeah, you inspire me so much. Yeah, and thank you for that song you played for me with your wife when I met you last December as well in person. Thank you. Next up, pardon me, Ta wrote, hello, Professor Chris. Hope all is well. Thank you for sharing your knowledge of cryptocurrencies from your course. Can you explain what ways we can prevent theft of cryptocurrencies now in the future? Yeah. So number one, don't ever buy cryptocurrency wallets from Amazon or any website except from the source. A lot of people go to Amazon and buy cryptocurrency, cold storage wallets there because they're cheaper. Don't do that. Buy directly from the source. Go right to the company that actually manufactured it because they're less likely to be tampered with. You get what you pay for it too. Yeah. Aside from that, only invest in ones with large market caps, maybe like the top 10 that you see when you sort on market cap on coinmarketcap.com. Again, that's coinmarketcap.com. Also, in my MBA program, I talk about 49 steps, updated version, on how to analyze cryptos, which is all based on how an S1 works. Yeah. Something that Vicente is going to be creating a lot of. Yeah. All right. All right, next up, Namai wrote, you look great today, 100%. Thank you. Playing grown up. I got this from Xenia, but I got this from this guy named Sam Malouf here in Burlingame, California. Yeah, where Vicente used to live. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Miss T. Oh my God, Tanya, it's been so long. It's been too long. I hope you're doing well. Tanya's in my platinum program from Toronto. It's been a while. I hope you're doing well. Yeah, and it warms my heart to see you again. Yeah, and Miss Tanya Tanya works in private equity in Toronto, and she's going to start this unbelievable event there. It's kind of like Carnival, but it's going to be for music globally, and she's going to get Drake involved as well, who's based in Toronto as well. Represent. My son Andrew thinks Toronto is cool because of Drake. I'm like, dude, Toronto's always been cool, right, T? Yeah. So you wrote here, hey, it's Tony from Toronto. Is there Q&A this afternoon? Thanks. Also, I love Billions. I'm on season 1. Thanks to you. Awesome. Enjoy every second. Thanks. And next week we release a vlog called Wall Street Pro. Me, sort of, not really. Wall Street Pro reacts to the Wolf of Wall Street. We're making a series out of it. Yeah, thank you. And the reason I made that vlog is there's this guy who he wrote a book with Mr. Beast. It was so good. I contacted him, and he's teaching me now in this course thing on how to do better vlogs. Yeah. Yes, we do have class today. Go to the calendar, log in on my website. It's from 11:20 until 1:20. It's 2 hours in. Yeah, and if there's an open slot this afternoon for one-on-ones, we'd love to talk to you as well after that. Yeah, great to see you. Next up, we got Sarthak, who wrote, Chris, I recently read Think and Grow Rich. Yeah. And my son Andrew's reading that right now. I have some projects in mind related to crypto. Any advice on how to start? Yeah. I would just write a full business plan. Again, failing to plan is plan to fail. In my MBA program, I've got something called the Venture Capital Bootcamp, where I help you start a business. Yeah. But I want you to write the whole business first. And my specialty, because I worked in venture capital for years, is helping people start companies that require no capital so you can scale quickly. Yeah. And I explain that in more detail in my MBA program. Yeah. Okay. And Abhishek wrote, good morning, Chris. Good morning to you too. Great to see you. Okay. Moving on to Eric, who wrote, and I'm going to go to Zoom in a minute, and give me a second here to see if people are trying to get in. Where the hell is it? Okay, I got Eric here. Wait, so a couple more people should join first before I go here. Eric, I'll also get you full time in the silver call today. So just go to harounmba.com/Zoom, all lowercase, to join there. Yeah, let's go to this angle here. Okay. All right. Eric wrote, Jan Irvin, not to be confused with Jan Hammer, who wrote great music for Miami Vice. Remember that? I'm dating myself. Jan Irvin did a great interview with Axel Jones on banned videos about psychedelics being used to destroy Christianity and the role they played in human sacrifice over the ages. Oh, yeah. Psychedelics. Yeah. I don't really think there's much drugs with religion. Yeah. Even alcohol. Well, actually, no, alcohol, like during the bootlegging period, Prohibition, when you couldn't get alcohol in America, you could still get alcohol. The Catholic Church could still get alcohol because, red wine. Yeah, I'm Catholic. Yeah. All right, moving on to Eric wrote, a lot of green technology like solar panels are polluting the environment with toxic metals. It's going to be an environmental nightmare. We need to uncover suppressed free energy, Tesla tech, etc. It's all relative. Like a lot of people will say, oh, I've got a Tesla, I'm doing great things for the environment. But when they go home, they plug in their Tesla. If the electricity at their home is from coal plants, they're actually hurting the environment. So it's all relative. And that's one of the reasons that Elon Musk no longer accepts Bitcoin to buy Teslas, because a lot of Bitcoin miners, especially in mainland China, where 81% of all Bitcoin pooling mining is done. In mainland China, they have 4,000 coal mines, belching filth into the sky, to quote Sting from an old song called Synchronicity Part 2. Yeah. All right. And Miss T from Toronto wrote, what are your thoughts on the interest hike from the Bank of Canada yesterday? Yeah. Yes, they raised rates by 0.75%. Somewhat expected. And we're very fortunate that they didn't go nuclear again, because the Bank of Canada about a month or two ago raised interest rates by 1%, which is almost unheard of. Slower, gradual hikes make a hell of a lot more sense, especially because the real estate sector in Canada is still overheated. Yeah. Yeah. And then you wrote, I heard I should do a 1 to 2 year locked-in mortgage instead of 5 years because the rates should go down in a few years. Thoughts? I'm not sure. I usually lock in for 30 years if I can. Yeah. Yeah. And then I refinance every now and then if rates go down. Of course, I haven't been refinancing for ages. Yeah, because rates are going up. Yeah. Okay. Abhishek said, I want some of your insights on China. And then your question is, China's aging population has led to a contraction in the labor force that induces a slowing economic growth. Yeah. Yeah. So I would say that it's, from a cyclical perspective, China's in a bit of trouble now. They cracked down a lot on COVID. Basically there's been tons of quarantining going on there, more so than other countries. And that's had a negative impact on the economy, but probably the right move, right? If we don't know what's the next version of COVID, the next mutation. Yeah. But I think that the bigger contraction we should be worried about is Japan. Japan, they've got 130 million people roughly, and within 30 or 40 years, they're only going to have 80 million people in Japan. A lot of people aren't having kids anymore, and it's tragic. Breaks my heart because I love Japan. Yeah. Okay. But China is cutting rates right now. Yeah. Okay. All right. And then Solomon wrote, where can I find the book for your course, Sales 101? So if you buy the course Sales 101, it's included there as well. And you can go to learn.harounventures.com. If you purchase the course and you can't find the book, go to the first lecture, download it, or you can email support@harounventures.com. And thank you. Okay. And then Eric wrote, if I'm not mistaken, I think Buffett likes Xenia, the clothing company, for some reason. Maybe that's the brand he wears. Yeah. I usually don't see him wearing expensive suits. He's way richer than I am. This is my only expensive suit. Yeah. Okay. Alex P. Keaton wrote, good morning, Chris. Good morning to you too. Hope you're doing well. Moving on to Mutaz, who wrote, does social media create anxiety? If so, how can we live without it to reduce anxiety? Is it okay to keep it on a laptop instead? Yeah, well, I would say if a lot of people get depressed when they use Facebook because, when you go to Facebook, people only talk about all the positive things in their lives. They don't leave a Facebook message saying, I'm depressed today. So people brag about their insecurities, whatever, their wins in life, whatever, and everybody clicks the like button because there's no dislike button. Then you get kind of depressed using it. Yeah. And so, my advice would be quite simply, if it depresses you, just don't do it. Don't go there. It's like getting anchovies or pineapple on pizza. I just don't understand that. So the analogy here is that, anchovy is Facebook, and pineapple might be, Snapchat or something. Just get it out of your life. Yeah. You don't need to use social media. I do recommend a good LinkedIn profile though. Yeah. Which I teach in my MBA program. And my platinum students, I actually create personally myself. Your entire LinkedIn profile, which works. It'll get you the job of your dreams, I promise, or your money back. Yeah. Oh, that was a cheesy infomercial thing to say, Chris. Yeah. Okay. Next up, I have got here, Mutaz wrote, sorry for creating too many questions. No, the more the merrier. I don't have very many left, actually. So please type your questions, guys. And then what we'll do is we'll go over to Zoom. Okay. All right. Next up, Alex P. wrote, do you like Johnny Cash, John Denver, or both musicians? Screw you, John Denver. Right. That was from Dumb and Dumber. Great quote. My favorite movie. Yeah. I like Johnny Cash. Yeah. And God bless John Denver. He passed away, I think, in a plane crash years ago. Johnny Cash is amazing. I bought the movie. I usually don't buy very many movies. I bought the movie Walk the Line with Joaquin Phoenix and Reese Witherspoon. And I love it. It's one of my favorite movies. I love Johnny Cash. So the best-selling album in 1970 was not Abbey Road. A lot of people think it was. It was actually an album that Johnny Cash did from Folsom Prison. And it was so awesome, right? And there's a maximum security prison not too far away from San Francisco here that he played at once. And I saw a replay of it. It was unbelievable. And he was taunting the warden. And all the inmates were like, yeah. I'm a big fan of Johnny Cash, yeah. Next up, truly, pardon me, wrote, thank you so much, Chris, for always sharing valuable knowledge. My pleasure. Thank you. You wrote, I've been your fan since Udemy courses. Thank you. And now I've finally found you again. You're simply fantastic, and I can't wait to join your MBA. Thank you, and thank you for that heart emoji. I love my students. I don't have a job. I have a passion. I love doing what I'm doing. But this past summer, I should not have been teaching and doing this weekly thing during COVID. I watched the replay. I look like death. But I just love doing what I'm doing. Yeah. And by the way, for anybody that does like Zoom webcasts and stuff, when you're doing it, if you're shiny like I am right now, and I've got the AC on, but it's real hot, you don't want people to see you perspire. So I've got this stuff here. And guys, if you don't know how to use this stuff, my wife explained it to me. It's called Stay Matte. Stay, S-T-A-Y, matte, M-A-T-T-E. And my wife bought me this brush from Sappahora. And so what you do is you just kind of take it like this, especially during a Zoom interview, and it gets rid of the of the shine. But it takes 8 million years for me to put on because my nose is massive. Yeah. Come on, shine, go away. Yeah. And there's also other things you can do. Like you'll hear my voice is getting a little bit raspy. So you can use something called Vocal Zone 24. And so what you do is you pop these in, and they help a lot. And there's also a spray that Bono and rock singers and opera singers use called Throat 37. So test. There you go. Getting better. Slowly but surely. Yeah. All right. Next up, Eric wrote regarding Jan Hammer. I love Miami Vice, and I watched it as a kid. I love it. And that's what Grand Theft Auto Vice City was kind of based on, too. I love that. Same environment, yeah. I loved it as a kid, even though it was more of an adult show. I really like the opening soundtrack with the video of the flashy houses, women in the cars, and I love Armani suits. Yeah. I love it. Now, what a great show. Maybe I'll go back and watch those old ones. Yeah. Next up, Carl wrote, Japan is betting the Tesla bot will be the answer to its shrinking work age population. Yeah. It breaks my heart, man. I love Japan. And I worked at Goldman Sachs years ago, and I did Japanese equities. I worked actually on a couple of big IPOs. Actually, it was the biggest IPO in history at that point in time. It was the NTT Docomo IPO. And they create these tombstone things for you as well when you work on these deals. I was a grunt. I was a very good photocopier. But here's the IPO prospectus right here. And so I did a ton of work on the Japanese economy. And Michael Porter, and this is fascinating, he wrote this book. And Michael Porter is probably the best economist ever, or strategist. He's a professor at Harvard. He came up with the Porter 5 Forces. Michael Porter wrote a book in 2001 called Can Japan Compete? And of course they can. And he analyzed the Japanese economy. And it's fascinating because after World War II, and this is based on Porter's book, Can Japan Compete? After World War II, the entire Japanese economy was in shambles, obviously. It was awful. And so what the Japanese government did in the mid to late 1940s was they created economic incentives, and they gave money to every sector in the economy to grow the economy again. Except they did not give money to these two sectors: autos and consumer electronics. And of course, many Japanese companies are successful in many sectors globally, but especially autos and consumer electronics. And it just goes to show that, too much handouts can hurt capitalism. Yeah. Kind of like a kid. You give your kid too big an allowance, so they'll never be independent. Yeah. But I think Japan can compete, and it breaks my heart what's happening there right now. Yeah. Okay. All right, next up, Antonio. Hey, Antonio, how are you, man? It's been a while. Great to see you. You graduated last year, I think, from my my platinum program. Awesome to see you, man. Awesome to see you. So Antonio wrote, "Hi, Chris. Hope all is well. Likewise. I was listening today to Nami Prin's talk about the Great Distortion. Do you have an opinion on that? I've never heard of Nami Prin's. Yeah, sorry. But if you want, you can summarize it for us here. I'd love to learn from you. And what I do actually is I've got this amazing app and it's called Blink List. Okay, and what you can do is you can listen to any business book or biography, whatever, summarized in 15 minutes. It's like Audible. It's awesome. Check it out. It's called Blink List. Blinkist. Yeah. Okay. Eric wrote, I love both of those musicians. The John Denver and Johnny Cash. And then he wrote, Michaela Peterson from Canada also likes Cash. Recently, she was looking at the Nashville area. Oh, that's right. You're right in the heart of it, man. Yeah. I've never gone to Graceland. I'd love to. And the new Elvis movie I saw as well is pretty good. Tom Hanks is so awesome. And then you wrote, among many celebrities as a place to move to, Nashville, that is. That's where FedEx is kind of based, yeah. Okay. Muya wrote, don't worry about name pronunciation. No, I do. Now, I'm going to show you what I do before job interviews, or I used to do at least, or I do now before meeting with students on how to pronounce names correctly, because I do feel bad. How pronounce name. And what you do is usually go here to Google. Pronounce name. And you can do it within, here we go, good. So I don't want to offend anybody. P-U-Y-A-Z-W-E. Pronounce. It's not working. I am going to do it. I have to. I'll do this real fast. You guys are probably going to all leave in a second, but stay with me. It's important for me. Okay. Pronounce M-B-U-Y-A-Z-W-E. I used to call the front desk at companies at night before interviews to get transferred to voicemail to learn how to pronounce people's names. Okay. Pronounce. I'm making an idiot of myself live here. Okay. Pronounce. Okay. Here we go. How to pronounce. Play.
Right away.
I think that's not the right one. Yeah. If you can spell it out phonetically for me, I promise you I'll pronounce it correctly. Thank you. Okay. That's a rabbit hole for me. I'm back. Okay. Okay. You wrote, don't worry about my name pronunciation. It's okay. Thank you for your response to my question. Please, may you explain what the VIX is and how one can use it to their advantage in investing decisions? Absolutely. So there's only one indicator that I use that I put my reputation online. This works in terms of buying stocks and selling stocks. Okay. But it only works once a decade or so. So let me explain what the VIX is, and I'll show you a quick chart of it. So the VIX is a measure of volatility. And whenever stocks are really volatile, meaning when the VIX is high, it means there's a lot of fear. Okay, volatility means fear. And so in 1990, the CBOE, which is a big options trading floor in Chicago, they created the VIX. And the VIX is basically, and I'll show you a chart in a second, and I'll show you how to read it and how to invest based on it. The VIX is basically, it tells you what investors think the S&P 500 stocks are going to do volatility-wise in the next month or so. So let me show you the chart here because it's very powerful. And when it goes above 80, I don't care what happens, you got to buy stocks, okay? And you're going to think it's crazy to buy stocks then, but it's the only time to do it. Or not the only time, but the time to lever up more so. All right, so let's go to finance.yahoo.com together, and I'll type in the ticker VIX. Okay, it's an index here, okay? Right here, CBOE Volatility Index. Okay. And what this does, and let me actually look at a maximum screen. Maximum here, I'll go full screen. What this does is it tells you what the market is expecting volatility-wise, okay? And so what I'm going to do is, let me just get rid of the RSI down here below, make it smaller. There we go. So every chart tells you a story, okay? So we're going to go back to the beginning here when the VIX was created in 1990, okay? All right, hold on. All right, won't let me go all the way back, but it started in 1990. Okay, so a reading of 20, which is under my head here, means that's when you buy, or that's when you don't buy stocks aggressively. A reading of 70 or 80 means you back up the truck and you buy stocks. Okay, so after 9/11, we saw a little spike here because there's fear in the market, okay? And then things were better. The statue of Saddam fell around here, and we had a bull market for a while. Then in 2008, when we were within 24 hours of bank machines not working, the VIX hit 79, okay? And that was the time to buy stocks because everyone's freaking out. Then things were better, whatever. We had a flash crash around here. And then eventually, and this is hidden underneath me, I apologize, but up here, this here is March of 2020, and the VIX intraday actually went above 80 all-time high. And that's when you can buy stocks anytime you want to, just, be long-term focused and, pick your spots. But this is an indication of when to go all in, okay? All in. And it doesn't happen that often, okay? But again, volatility, give me 1 second, please. Okay, and I'm sorry for that person that's doing that. I'm trying to hide that user from the channel now. Okay, good. Yeah. All right. There's something very racist somebody wrote, but they're gone. Okay. Okay. But sorry, I got distracted there. But basically, the VIX measures volatility. So what that means is when volatility is high, there's a lot of fear in the market. The market goes down a lot. So the bottom line is this: when the VIX goes above 80, which is rare, but when it does, it's going to feel like the world is ending and everybody is selling stocks. That's when you buy. Okay. Hopefully that made a lot of sense. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Next up here. Namai wrote, seriously, you're explaining makeup? I never thought I would see that. Just want to say you're a fantastic human being and model after Jesus. Yeah, thank you. God bless you. God bless you. Yeah. Yeah. And whoever it was that left that comment, you're probably still watching. I'm going to pray for you. But please don't do that again. Thanks. Yeah. And if anybody was offended by that comment, I'm sorry on behalf of that person who's been blocked. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, Alona wrote, LinkedIn is the same as Facebook. You're comparing your career with others. I would say stop comparing yourself to others. Yeah. In general, I would say don't give a damn what people think about you. And that's the only way you can live your life in your own terms, is when you just say, I don't care what people think. I'm going to be and people, I remember when I stopped doing venture capital and I was teaching, people were like, are you crazy? You're nuts. I was like, no, this is what I want to do. And if people think you're crazy doing what you're doing, it means you're right and you're early. And then you get some success. They're like, oh, maybe crazy genius. And eventually just genius. Like when you search for Albert Einstein, you see a picture of him with his tongue out with long hair. You don't think crazy, you think genius. I'm still in the crazy stage and I will be forever though. Okay, moving on to, let's see here. Abhishek wrote, hey Chris, last week I was hearing an economist from India. He was saying only idiots will invest in the United Kingdom. Okay, before I answer the rest of this question, I want to say one thing about economists. Economists have been very successful at predicting 7 of the past 48 recessions. Yeah. Don't ever take advice from economists. They're theoretical. They talk about supply and demand charts, which is theory. And I never teach supply and demand crap in my MBA. Yeah. Careful with that. And don't take advice from anybody either. I guess my wife lost her cell phone. I was trying to find mine. Yeah. Yeah, don't take investment advice from anybody either, ever. Yeah. And a lot of these economists, they're fear mongers too, like Nouriel Roubini, right? From a great prof from NYU. They call him Dr. Do. Yeah. And it sells newspapers or television spots or whatever. Okay. So he wrote here, an economist was saying, only idiots will invest in the United Kingdom. He's also saying if the UK wants to go back on track, the UK should go back into the EU. Yeah. Yeah. England wants to be independent. It's just part of the DNA subfabric, which I respect. Yeah. 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 And of course, they've got a new prime minister that wasn't really elected, was kind of put in place. And I was a fan of Boris, who left. Yeah. Not of his parties during COVID, but aside from that, I think that was unfortunate. Yeah. Yeah, but I would not bet against England long term. Yeah, yeah, and the fact that an economist will say that, and if everyone's negative on UK now, then now might not be a bad time to roll up your sleeves and look to buy certain UK-based stocks after you do the fundamental valuation-based and technical-based analysis in that order. Yeah, which I teach you in my MBA program. Yeah. Okay. Next up, Eric wrote, Graceland is in Memphis, Tennessee. Oh, sorry, I thought it was Nashville. A few hours away. And I think that is where FedEx is headquartered also. Very cool. And the dude that founded FedEx, I think he went to University of Chicago Business School, and he got a C on his paper for his thesis of FedEx. Yeah. Okay. Oh, good. You're telling me how to pronounce this. So let me do a screen print so I can pronounce your name correctly. Always. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So Mbuyazwe. Okay. Is that right? Mbuyazwe. Okay. I'll remember that. Mbuyazwe. And then you wrote, thank you for your efforts. I've learned the importance of name pronunciation from you. No, please. And then you wrote, I'll also make the effort to pronounce everyone's name correctly. Thank you. Just remember, my last name is Haroun. Actually, it's Haroun, which rhymes with baboon. Now you'll never forget it. Yeah. Okay. Mbuyazwe. Okay, thank you. I took a screen print. I'll never forget that. Thank you. All right. All right. And then next up, I've got Da, who wrote, hello, Haroun. Heroin, baboon. How are you? What about your MBA program? Is it still active? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can join tomorrow if you want to learn more about it, or you can go to harounmba.com to learn more. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Dan wrote, what do you think of the latest iPhone release? I think it was kind of disappointing, man. There's nothing really new about it that appeals to a mass market, you know, and it's kind of the whole presentation yesterday, it's an hour and a half, was kind of flawed, you know, because basically they were presenting to a tiny market, right? So with the new version of the Apple Watch 8, they were appealing to extreme trainers, just extreme people that you know, extreme sports people. And then with the iPhone, they were also appealing to people that go on hikes and do extreme mountain climbing and stuff, which is cool that this will help you save your life. But basically, what was new about the iPhone 14, a couple things. Number one, if you're in the middle of nowhere and you're outdoors and you can't get cellular service, you can point this up at a satellite and get SOS help, right? It'll send texts. Yeah. It takes 15 minutes to get a text to you and back, though, on average, depending on where you are, if there's foliage on top of you as well. Aside from that, the new iPhone has got the new iPhone on the very top where there's that black bezel thing. They made it a little bit smaller, and they also have notifications up there as well. It's kind of like a smart taskbar for apps that you have open. It's also 2 times faster, battery a little bit longer, or whatever. 2 times faster is good for gaming, which is not everybody really. My games run great on this. Yeah. Aside from that, not really much is that new. Looks the same to me, really. Yeah. Yeah. A different color comes in now, too. Yeah. And the pricing didn't change very much. And you can get these things up to 1 terabyte, which comes out, I think, on the 15th or so, or 16th, the highest end version. Yeah. Yeah. The new Apple Watch has another button on the side, which is kind of needed, I guess. Yeah. And the new AirPods Pro, it looks exactly like this here. But it's got better spatial audio, and also noise canceling is twice as good. So I think the big surprise was this. Twice as good noise canceling. That's pretty cool. Yeah. All right. Okay. Give me a second here, guys. All right. Prashant wrote a question. I found many doing an FMVA provided by CFI. Is it worth it? Yeah. I don't even know what FMVA stands for. So I know that CFA is worth it and probably more respected in finance circles than an MBA. Yeah. And Christina, how are you? Christina is the president of the Haroun Education Ventures Alumni Association. She's great. She's also local here. She and her husband, Christian, took the MBA program Platinum last year. Yeah, it's great to see you, Christina. You wrote, good morning, Chris, our amazing weekly webcast and global MBA family. Hope you're having an outstanding week so far. Looking sharp in a suit. Thank you. Trying to play the part. They let adults wear suits sometimes. I'm a man-child. And then you wrote, Chris, I'm at 10 a.m. water and 2,400 steps. How about you? Yeah. For water, for me, I am at 9. So a little bit behind schedule. Water mixed with vodka. So I have confidence on these things. In terms of steps, not that many yet. I'm at 2,000. That's right. I got up a couple hours early today. I forgot about that. Yeah, 2,000. Yeah, I'll get to 20 by later today. Got a new e-bike yesterday. It's so much fun. Oh my god, so much fun. Yeah. Okay. Eric wrote. Okay. Okay. Good. Eric wrote. I went to a speech school as a toddler. Since I'm deaf. Yeah. And I gotta say, man, all the accessibility features that Apple provides are unbelievable. Like my eyesight is getting worse, and so I have the font size on like 8 million here. It's great. It's amazing. Yeah, I absolutely love it. Thank you, Apple, for all those accessibility issues or things you've helped with as well. Yeah. Okay, cool. And thank you for joining my channel. I just saw you joined there for the 5 free courses and more. Thank you. I'm going to be selling my MBA eventually over YouTube as well. I'm actually doing it right now. If there's a higher end tier, you can see right there. Yeah. Another distribution channel. Okay. And then Da wrote, do we see a Chris Haroun Discord server someday in the future? Yeah. It's a tough call. So I use Slack. So all my MBA students have their own MBA channels so they can network with each other. In hindsight, I wish I used Discord. Discord's a little bit less user-friendly. But it's cheaper, right? Slack, they want to charge me if I want to do searches on more than 10,000 messages. So in hindsight, I wish I went to Slack. Going forward, I'll probably migrate to Slack eventually, or migrate to Discord eventually. Yeah. Okay. All right. And then Carl wrote, Apple has stopped innovating. I agree with that. Yeah, there's no groundbreaking new product. Hopefully this AR VR product comes out in January. Yeah, we'll see. And you can do a search for Apple AR product and you'll see what the patent looks like. Looks pretty cool. All right. And Eric wrote, I purchased a slightly used satellite phone in case the cell phone towers fall or get sabotaged. I haven't set it up yet. Yeah, those things have massive antennas. Yeah. Prashant wrote, it's okay. So that designation stands for Financial Modeling and Valuation Certification. Yeah. To find out if that FMVC thing is worth getting, you can always search for people that have jobs that you want to get and see if they have that. Yeah. All right. And give me 1 second here. All right. Okay, so Rita, who's one of my Platinum MBA students from Melbourne, wrote, Chris, the new iPhone 14 has 48 megapixels. Oh yeah, the camera's better. I forgot about that. Instead of 12. It can be useful for navigators too. Yeah, I did see that as well. I can't tell the difference between 4K and 1080 anymore. Yeah. And then Prashant wrote, people are after investment banking. Maybe that's the reason for FM for that designation. Yeah. Again, look at people's LinkedIn profiles. If they have that designation and that's the only way to get a job in that sector, then go for it. But I recommend aggressively networking. My students have done it and they've gotten jobs at Goldman Sachs, McKinsey, Google, all the great companies by networking aggressively. The problem is this: whenever you see a job opening online, the probability of you getting that job is next to nothing. In fact, if you see a job opening online and you apply, you have literally a 1 out of 250 chance of getting that job. The person that gets the job usually knows somebody at the company. So those are the rules. So I teach you aggressive networking on steroids in the first semester of my MBA degree program. So you can get the job of your dream by networking aggressively. I promise you it works or your money back. It does. And I have so many success stories from my students that inspire me so much. Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, and if I missed anybody, just paste it again, please. Yeah. Next up, Sarlik wrote, "Hey Chris, where do you start if I want to learn a new language? My college does not provide any language courses." Yeah. So there's a couple things you can do. Number one, there's Rosetta Stone. You could search online to take those types of courses. Or if you want to pay up a bit, you can go to a more expensive service in person in big cities called Berlitz. And that's what I did to learn Japanese years ago. Or what you can do is what a lot of people do is they watch television and they turn in the language that they want to learn, and they'll turn on closed captions. Yeah. In terms of if you meant programming languages, then I would just do a search for Dr. Angela Yu on Udemy and take her courses. She's the bomb. She's great. I met her too in Berlin a couple of years ago. She's dope. Okay. All right, next up, Vicente wrote, hey, Chris, I need a phone. My iPhone 7 will go obsolete. I was thinking of a refurbished one. Any thoughts on which iPhone? Thanks, yeah. So I would, if the older ones you have, what you can do is you can trade them and get up to $1,000 back if you want to, right? So that's available. Anybody can do it now. Yeah, give me 1 second, guys. I'm so sorry to do this, but I've got something important here. Somebody is impersonating me on, actually, can I get your help, guys? So there's this guy on Instagram, and I'll answer your questions in a second on the iPhone. There's this guy on Instagram that's pretending to be me, and I'm trying to get it taken down. But the only way to do it, to reach somebody, I got a buddy who works at Insta, I'll call her later today, is for you guys to go there and click the down or report this person. So here's what I want you to do. There's a person with this exact Instagram name that's pretending to be me, posting all my stuff as well. And I'm worried that next up he's going to ask for people's money. I probably shouldn't have said this publicly. But anyway, I'm going to type in the Instagram name right here. Okay, so I just entered in the Instagram name, _ Chris Haroun. So I want you guys, if you use Insta right now, please, to go to Instagram and report that person. Okay, don't report me, but report the person that has the exact Instagram title of _ Chris Haroun. If you guys don't mind, I have my family do that as well. All right, that was me getting distracted. And I had to send them a picture as well of myself with my driver's license, but Insta's still working on it, yeah. All right, in terms of the iPhone, if big companies, and I think you just got a great job at a great company, what they do is they'll give you these things. So you can ask them, but you want to buy your own personal one as well if you can. Yeah, I would go for the iPhone 13 because they're going to be heavily discounted as well. Yeah, and the screen's brighter than this one. This is a 12. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. And then Da wrote, do I really get those 5 free courses? You do. You do. Yeah. So you just signed up to join my channel. So on my YouTube channel, you're subscribed. You click join, and you purchase it for 99 cents. Thank you. It's a monthly thing. And you get 5 courses. So you should see right there on the 5 courses how to click to get access to them. Yeah. Yeah. And those prices will be going up eventually. I'm just kind of testing it. But you guys you'll get grandfathered in. Yeah. Okay. Next, and if it doesn't work, let me know right here. Thanks. It does work though. Lots of people signed up. VP wrote, I'm doing one of your Udemy classes right now with a Mac Pro. Will the Excel Mac version work with spreadsheets? Absolutely. I thoroughly tested all my spreadsheets and all my courses and MBA programs to work on Mac and Windows and all versions from Excel 2013 beyond. Yeah. Okay. And then Namai wrote, living life on own terms. Here's to the crazy ones. Yes, it was a great old Steve Jobs commercial that Richard Dreyfuss narrated as well. Yeah. And then Christina wrote at DA, we're creating a Discord server for our HEV MBA alumni network for all HEV MBA students. Hope it'll be live later this year. Awesome. Thank you, Christina, so much. Yeah. All right. Next up, Eric wrote, there are satellite plans that offer quite a bit of worldwide coverage. I'm not familiar with the Apple version. You should shop around to find the best plan. Yeah, the Apple version, you have to get the iPhone 14, and you got to wait like sometimes a couple of minutes, up to 15 minutes if there's foliage above you. If you can't get a direct view of the satellite to send a message, yeah, for SOS purposes, yeah. And of course, Elon Musk has got that new technology as well. He's deploying, which we are going to use eventually for the schools that we create in Africa and all over the world. All right. Next up, Prashant said, so Professor, See you now during the MBA program, starting it soon initially with gold and shall move to platinum. Awesome. And I'm looking forward to humbly helping you any way I can. If you don't get tremendous value out of it, you get your money back. And the money back policy works as follows. If you purchase today or any time before the 30th of September, and spots are limited for platinum, gold is going to be wide open. But if you purchase any time before today and September 30th, you get 100% of your money back all the way up until 30 days after we start, meaning this. If you purchased any time before September 30th, you get your money back all the way up until October 30th, 100%. Yeah. And usually I have one person every year that asks for their money back. Yeah. Okay. All right. And then Da wrote to Christina and to myself, what is the HEV MBA program? Yeah. So if you go to, just go to, type this in, day1notoneday.com, and it'll teach you all about it. Okay. day1notoneday.com. Yeah. And thank you, Christina, for telling me to reserve those URLs. Okay. Eric wrote, is there a great human migration coming or growing larger? People from South America, North Africa to Europe. I don't really know. I know that in the United States there's a great migration to Texas for tax reasons. Don't mess with Texas. Yeah. Okay. And then Da wrote, easy, let's mass report them. Thank you for doing that. Again, go to your Instagram account and there's this person pretending to be me, which is _Chris Haroun. Just torch that. Report that person, please. Yeah, thanks. And he's so sophisticated, I can't see him. He hid my, so I can't check. Yeah, but I have a gazillion other people reporting that person. Thank you. Okay. All right. Next up, Alex B. Keaton wrote, one of the best indicators to buy good stocks in bulk is the VIX. Yeah. Is there a similar indicator for cryptos like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin? No. But after you do your fundamental research on cryptocurrencies, then what you can do is look to see if they're oversold, meaning the RSI is 20. Okay, but that's the last thing you look at. You look at fundamentals, valuation, then technicals last. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, Prashant, for reporting that person as well, and other people as well. And Sarthak, excellent. Thank you. You guys the best. Okay. And sorry, thank you. Abhishek wrote, will Jerome Powell raise interest rates like Paul Volcker? Absolutely not. So Paul Volcker was the manager of the store of money in the United States in the early 1980s, meaning the Federal Reserve chairperson. And Paul Volcker raised interest rates in the United States to about 20% in the early 1980s. And the reason he did was because inflation was way higher then. And things were worse then because then unemployment was about 10% in the early 1980s in America. Right? It was awful. And not many companies were born in the early 80s. And so right now, unemployment is still under 4%. Yeah, so there's no way that rates will go that high. Yeah. Yeah. Plus, we've had a couple of secular shifts since then as well. You know, we have the Berlin Wall, and I've got a piece of the Berlin Wall here. The Berlin Wall fell in 89 or 90, whatever it was. And it wasn't this pretty. This was spray painted when I went to Berlin at Checkpoint Charlie to buy this. But basically what happened was this. Around 1990, the Berlin Wall fell. Okay, it was torn down. And Alan Greenspan, who was the Federal Reserve chairperson in the 90s, said that we had unprecedented economic growth and irrational exuberance because the wall fell. And so when the Berlin Wall fell, what that meant was you had a lot of brilliant and cheaper Eastern European labor moving west. And the biggest input into inflation and making anything is the price of labor. So cheaper labor meant that rates were artificially lower, right? And the whole global economy opened up. And then this generation's Berlin tear down wall event is Amazon Web Services, which was launched in 2005 by Amazon, of course. And so with Amazon Web Services, Amazon has cut prices on AWS hundreds of times now. And that's incredibly deflationary. And without Amazon Web Services, Netflix would not exist. Neither would Netflix streaming would not exist. Neither would Dropbox, which used to run entirely off of AWS. Neither would Uber, Lyft, etc., Airbnb, all these great companies. They all run off of Amazon Web Services. So it's very deflationary. So between AWS and the Berlin Wall falling, secularly, things are not as bad as we think they are. And that's one of the reasons, because of price discovery. You can get cheaper price online by searching, etc. That's one of the reasons why I don't think the times are as bad today as they were back in the early 1980s. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and house and garden projects. Thank you for also reporting _Chris Haroun. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and so he put up the account. I've got 1.5 million students all over the world, so I find out pretty quickly about these jerks. And so within 6 hours of him putting it up yesterday, I got reports from friends. Yeah. All right, thank you guys. All right, next up, Grace. I love your name. And Ame, your last name is like Amen. I love it. You warm my heart. Grace wrote, can you try to get your Instagram verified? It makes it easier to detect the fake account. Yeah, no, thank you. And I'll get Cassandra, my chief marketing officer, to look into that. Thanks. She's great. Yeah. And then Prashant wrote, no point to get any money back. It's a long-term relationship to start with your MBA program. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. Then I've got Dr. Michael Nunez, who's in my platinum program. He's from Arizona. He wrote, I paused the playback. Pineapple and Canadian bacon is good on pizza. Yeah, Canadian bacon. Okay, I agree with that. Yeah. I just don't understand pineapple. I don't get it. It's like, I don't know, eating delicious ice cream with capers. And I hate capers. I just don't get it. Yeah. All right. And then Da, who signed up for my 99 cents, joined my YouTube channel, got my 5 free courses. Much love. You're most welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And sign up when you can, guys, because I'm going to, that's not going to be there forever. But you'll be grandfathered in. Yeah. It's kind of a new feature I'm testing out right now. And I will be selling my MBA program. You can actually purchase it there as well, and you'll see the option. Yeah. Okay, moving on to Eric, who wrote, migration we're seeing from Illinois and New York to Florida to Texas. Yeah, and Citadel, big hedge fund I used to work for, is headquartered in Illinois. And Ken Griffin, great guy, I met him. I used to work for him indirectly, but he moved his whole company to Miami for tax reasons. I think he's from Miami originally. He used to live there for a while. Yeah. Caterpillar as well from Illinois. Yeah, it's leaving. Yeah. Voting with their feet. Yeah. And then Eric wrote, now that Wall Street and Citadel has moved to Miami, how will things change? Yeah. So, it's a couple of things. Number one, I hope it forces states that are leaning too far to the left, like way too left, to stop raising taxes. But it also worries me a bit as someone living here in California, that if all the centrists, I gotta be careful here, if all the centrists leave to Texas, then does that mean that California leans more left? I hope not. Right? And when I say left, I mean communist. Like I don't want people to move that far. Yeah. I'm gonna shut up now. Yeah. But I love many things about this great state of California. Yeah. But Gavin Newsom, stop raising taxes. Okay. And then Eric wrote, a lot of people are moving to the Nashville area from other places. Oh, it must be tax incentives too, eh? This area has been growing rapidly for several years. I also noticed many people from Michigan are here. Auto manufacturing is big, yeah. I never understood why people live in freezing cold places when they can always move south. I just don't get it. Like in Canada, where I'm from, 95% of Canadians live within 100 miles of the U.S. border, right? It's for commerce reasons, but also the weather, yeah. Then you wrote, maybe Dallas could become a big hub for finance, like New York City. Yeah, in the long run. Yeah. All right, I'm going to open up Zoom now. We have a couple minutes for Zoom. And then if anybody wants to join Zoom, I'll show you exactly how to join the Zoom call. Okay. So what you do to join Zoom is you go to harounmba.com/Zoom, all lowercase. See there? And you click this link here if you guys want to join Zoom. So what I'll do now is I'm going to go over to Zoom and get this set up. Here we go. That's what I'm talking about. Good. All right. I guess while you guys are getting ready to ask questions, put your hand up if you have a question, and I'll come to you. I'll go through more questions here. All right. So next up, Johan wrote, "Hello, Chris. Hey, man. I work as a private advisor in a large bank in Sweden with a bachelor's degree. My dream job is a fund manager in a mutual fund. Currently, I'm studying for the CFA. Do you have any career advice? Thanks." Yeah. Most important thing I can tell you, Johan, is you've got to aggressively network. Like, had I known what I know now, humbly, I would not have gone an MBA from a traditional school. You know, because I applied for a couple jobs, didn't get them. I thought, oh my God, I have to get an MBA now. Network like crazy. I guarantee you, if you set up 100 networking meetings with people that are fund managers, that you will get the job of your dreams. I guarantee you. Now, you got to follow through. And I say it with love in my heart. Now, when I used to teach live during the evenings when I worked in venture capital, I taught at a bunch of Bay Area universities. On the first day of class, and I always have massive class. It was so fun. On the first day of class, I had like 70 students at a time. I would always say this. It's a 10-week class. And the universities let me teach whatever I wanted to. It's so much fun. I said this. If I told all of you in class today that if over the next 10 weeks, you set up one informational meeting every week, that you would get the job of your dreams, would you do those 10 informational meetings? All 70 hands, like the wave, go up. Then on the last day, before my final exam, which was always easy, on the last day, I then asked, okay, how many of you people did 10 meetings? No hands go up. How many did 9? No hands go up. How many did 8? A couple of hands would go up. And those students were never the ones with the top grades, but those were always the students that got the top jobs. Your network is your net worth. Relationships are more important than product knowledge. You got to make sure you have a perfect LinkedIn profile. I teach you networking, perfect LinkedIn profile creation, social media marketing of yourself, etc. in my MBA program. If you're in my platinum program, I will also write your entire LinkedIn profile for you. So the bottom line is, Johan, if you want to get that job as a fund manager, I want you to set up a ton of informational meetings. And I teach you exactly how in my MBA program. Yeah. All right. Cool. And then Eric wrote here, are you going to evaluate all the episodes of Billions? How will you approach the series? That's a great question, dude. I love it. Thank you. We'll see what the market has to say, but I just published one vlog on it. And Johan, you're most welcome, brother. Yeah. And Johan, if you want, what I can do, join this Zoom thing right now, only if you want to. Okay, and you got to feel comfortable with this, and I can go through your LinkedIn profile and make recommendations in real time. Totally up to you. Okay, in terms of Billions, so we'll see. I don't know if there'll be demand for it, but eventually I will do a Wall Street Pro, whatever, reacts to Billions episode 2. I'll do it. And if there's demand for it, dude, I'll go through the whole series. I love that show. It's realistic, too. Yeah. Okay. And then VP wrote, Michiganders mass migrated to Texas back in the early 80s. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people actually of Arabic descent are there, too. My wife, my dad's Egyptian. My wife, who's half Palestinian, she has a lot of family living there as well in Michigan. Some of the signs are in Arabic, too. Yeah, it's interesting. Wonder why. Huh. Cool. All right. So let me now go over to Zoomy. And if anybody has questions, raise your hand. Why don't we kick it off with Rita? And then Ajay wrote, waiting for a Succession review. I'll do that one as well. I love that show. Absolutely. And Macaulay Culkin's brother, one of the 8 million Culkins, Kieran Culkin or something, he kills in that show. He's hysterical. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a play on Rupert Murdoch, sort of, but not really. Yeah. Yeah. Chair is turned here. It's my COVID chair, which I don't use anymore. Yeah. All right, Rita, you have the floor, dude. Well, it looks like you're on mute.
I have reported the imposter for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. A bunch of people have done it as well. Hopefully that person is taken down. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
You're sitting on your throne there, eh? You got a nice big chair?
Yes, I am indeed. I'm just enjoying. Enjoying the lecture. Your cryptocurrency lesson yesterday was fantastic.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you went through detail, extremely at length, and was amazing.
Thank you. It's so much fun to do it. Yeah, no, I love it. You got your Puma jacket on. Is it chilly there, or just in?
Yeah, Puma jacket. But it's very cold in Melbourne. We're very, very cold here.
Oh, that's right. It's the opposite, right?
Yeah. We're just sort of.
Yeah.
I live in a very, very big house. That was for a 60 square home. 60 is about 9 bedrooms and everything like that, and so it does get big cold. It gets very expensive to keep up the heat as well. So I like to stay young and try to warm up.
Yeah, dude, I can't sleep when it's hot. I can sleep when it's cold, but not when it's hot. Yeah, and we got air conditioning put into our house. It was like last year, finally. But thank God. Yeah, it's crazy. Oh, that is my alarm. The most relaxing alarm ever. All right, which I saw from a Zillow commercial, actually. So I got to wrap this up in a minute or so. So go if you have a question, go ahead, Rita, and you could stay on as well for the silver class. We're going to do as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. My question for you yesterday, when we were doing through the cryptocurrency, you mentioned that we open up our Excel spreadsheet.
Yes. And
I couldn't open it up. I didn't know where to find it, and I couldn't, so I didn't have a chance to open.
Okay.
To compete in the 3 questions you mentioned.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
But I'll do better next time.
That's all good, man. All good. And I'm happy to walk through it with you as well. I could control your computer over Zoom if you want me to. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. So why don't we do this? Okay, so what I'm going to do, Eric, since you're in silver and Rita, you're platinum, just stay on this call. Stay here on Zoom. Okay, I'm going to turn off my microphone, mute yourselves. I'm going to wrap up this call. I'm going to change out of these clothes, put on my gym clothes, and then we'll do the Zoom here, and I'll spend an hour with you. And for those of you in the Silver MBA, go to the first lecture in Silver, and what you can do is you'll see a link, which I update every week, for the call, the Zoom call, that's going to start at 10 a.m. in a couple of minutes. So I'm going to wrap up the webcast. I see there's a couple more questions there. I'm sorry I can't get to all questions. Just copy them and ask me next week. And please, everybody, join me tomorrow as well on my webcast. And let me go over here and just wrap up the call and summarize. Yeah. So join me tomorrow, please, at 11 a.m. on September 9th. That's tomorrow, Friday, September 9th, 11 a.m. Pacific time, for my 5th annual Gold and Platinum MBA degree program open house. Everybody attending will get 3 prizes during the call. You'll love them. And I'll also give away the Gold MBA to 1 person on the call tomorrow. Okay, great. So thank you, everybody. Audrey, I'll see you tomorrow.
That's 11 o'clock Los Angeles time, yes?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Exactly. My pleasure, yeah. So thanks, everybody, for your time. God bless you all. And I'm going to end this week's webcast, as I always do, with the most prophetic, amazing short interview with Steve Jobs that I licensed from the Silicon Valley Historical Association. That's life-changing. God bless you, and thank you.
When you grow up, you tend to get told that the world is the way it is, and your life is just to live your life inside the world, try not to bash into the walls too much, try to have a nice family life, have fun, save a little money. But life, that's a very limited life. Life can be much broader once you discover one simple fact, and that is everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And the minute that you understand that you can poke life and actually something will, if you push in, something will pop out the other side, that you can change it, you can mold it. That's maybe the most important thing, is to shake off this erroneous notion that life is there and you're just going to live in it, versus embrace it, change it, improve it, make your mark upon it. I think that's very important. And however you learn that, once you learn it, you'll want to change life and make it better, because it's kind of messed up in a lot of ways. Once you learn that, you'll never be the same again.